Hey there folks, I am the Mighty Plantain. Thanks for checking out this video. We've got something from Two Roads Brewing. This is their IPA variety pack. Looks like it normally contains Road to Ruin, Honeyspot Road, Lil Heaven, and then they have a rotating selection that's exclusive. And this time around it's Coast Rider. And come on, you gotta love the names. Road to Ruin, Honeyspot Road, Lil Heaven, Coast Rider. I love Coast Rider. So I'm not 100% sure what order I should be doing these in. I was going to use IBUs, but they don't have them listed on the box, and I'm too fucking lazy to look it up. So normally you would go, and I know, folks, if you drink IPAs, you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, just for those who don't. You normally would go from your lower to higher IBUs, no matter what, because nothing wrecks your palate faster than the bitterness of hops. So even when you're doing a multiple variety flight, a lot of your bartenders, whatever you want to call them, the servers, they will arrange your beers all from light to dark, which is not a bad thing normally if you're working with the pre-IPA catalog of beers. But the sign of a real expert, they will organize your beers from lower IBUs to higher IBUs regardless of color, because you can have a stout that's way less bitter in its own right, but has way less hoppy bitterness than a really light colored IPA. The bitterness of the hops will wreck your palate faster than anything else. So you want to go from a low to high IBU. If you're drinking for the sake of drinking for the evening and you're not worried about taste, then you want to go from your higher ABV beers to your lower ABV beers, because you want to start out with the heavy shit, and then you want to make sure you're consuming, because your consumption rate tends to speed up the more you drink. So you don't want to move from a lower alcohol beer to a higher alcohol beer at the same time that you're chugging them down faster and faster, because you're just going to wind up puking up your shoes and on the floor. So anyway, like I said, most of you know that because you've been there, right? Okay. So in this particular case, I am all over the fucking map because we've got Road to Ruin at 8% ABV, but it's also a double IPA. So I'm going to assume that it has the higher IBUs of any of the four. So I'm actually going to do my 8% ABV beer last. Might be a mistake. And we're going to put Honeyspot Road right before that because it says IPA, but it also says it's an unfiltered IPA, which tends to have more particulates and sometimes some higher bitterness. So that's going to be the second to last. Coast Rider being an American IPA at 6.3% ABV. Sometimes when they throw the word American in there, that's a little bit higher in the bitterness, higher in the hoppiness. And then we're going to start off with Lil Heaven, which is a 4.8% ABV, unknown IBUs, but a crushable IPA, which tends to be more of like a session IPA or a lower IBU. IPA. All right. So, Lil Heaven, first up. Now that you've all gotten fucking bored since I ran through all that info before even opening the first beer, but I will try not to repeat myself later on in the video. In the interests of getting this out of the way as well, I'm just going to say, in terms of rating, I use a 1 to 5 scale. I only stop on the halves. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 2.5 is average, which is not bad, especially considering the changing landscape of beers these days and how many different varieties and types of beer and different beers in general we have out there. God, I'm not making any fucking sense. This is going to be a disaster. Slightly hazy, nice, yellowish, golden yellow color. Slightly effervescent. There's a few air bubbles coming up from that nucleation point at the bottom of the glass. I didn't get a really good head on that, but it's got a yellowish tinge to the head, which is kind of neat. So, right up front, there's an overall bitterness in that aroma, and it's got a citrusy bent to it. Hint of pine underneath. Something else I'll try not to repeat later. I'm more keyed towards citrus and pine than anything else, so I'm going to pick up on those esters first. But I'm definitely getting mostly citrus, hint of pine, maybe some peach in the aroma. Got some bite to it. It's got a nice tart, citrusy pop right up front. There's almost a sting to it, which is kind of nice. There's a hint of dankness there too. That's kind of neat. And some pine in the finish. Nice. It's got a medium mouthfeel, but it goes down like something that's got a light mouthfeel, if that makes any sense. So it's got some body to it, but it's easily drinkable. Crushable. There you go. I was looking to see, they made this in December. It's February of 2025 right now. But this was put out in December. This would be a better summer beer, I think. But I mean, if they put it in this pack and this pack's out year round, then, you know, yeah, whatever. But definitely crushable. It's got a light, crisp finish to it. But yeah, mostly citrus with a hint of dankness. A little bit of pine in the finish there. Easy to drink. As I said, it's got some body to it, but it drinks like a lighter mouthfeel beer would, if that makes any sense. It's good. It's overall just really, really good. Yeah, I got to hit this guy with a 4 out of 5. There's nothing about it that's like blowing me away or like making it stand out, because 10 years ago, this would have been an amazing beer. Right now, I can think of at least 3 or 4 other IPAs that would have a similar character or similar experience and be as impressive as this. So it gets a nice 4 out of 5. I got nothing bad to say about it. It's just not standing out from the crowd, not impressing me, beyond the fact that it's pretty much as well put together as it can be. So I'm going to finish this one up. We're going to move on to Coast Rider. Coast Rider is next. All right, next up, Coast Rider. All right, yes, the mediocre Nicolas Cage movies aside, I do like Ghost Rider as a character, so Coast Rider, play on words, really got my attention. And I will try not to obsess about that. So the Coast Rider is an American IPA at 6.3% ABV, and it's got the Volkswagen Bus Surfmobile on the can. Now this one is a little bit hazy. Well, actually it's quite hazy. Very cloudy. Just shy of having particulates in it. I'm not seeing like whatever is in there, whether it be oils that's causing the haziness or actual particulates, it's fine enough, or it's oily. It's just oily, so that you can't see the particulates. Wow. Okay, they're making no sense today. Slightly effervescent. There's a few bubbles coming up from that nucleation point, but it does have a nice golden yellow color to it. I think I described the last one as golden yellow as well, but maybe a nice golden honey color where the beer gets thicker at the top of the glass. It's a good looking beer, all things considered. Now, folks who watch the channel regularly know that I'm not a huge fan of the particulates in the beer, but when it's hazy and fine enough like that you don't see the little particles flying around, it's not as off-putting to me as the actual visual particulates. And again, it's just a visual off-putting thing for me. I've come to realize over the years that those particulates, I'm not going to be like chewing the beer, but it still puts me off. I blame Orbits. If anybody remembers Orbits, the syrupy fruit water drink with the gelatin beads in it from back in the day. Yeah. I think it put me off of particulates in my drinks forever. But I didn't like tapioca pudding to begin with for the same reason. So anyway, all right. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this beer. There's a hint of dankness to it that it's very, very, very faint, but I'm almost getting like a metallic skunkiness to it, which is weird. And so I would say like an earthy dankness, but it's extremely faint, and it's got that. I know it sounds unpleasant, but it's close to a metallic skunkiness. It's like barely there. I could even be imagining it. Nice medium mouthfeel. Interesting. Nice medium mouthfeel. It's going down easy. Sorry, there's going to be some pauses and silences here because I'm trying to sort out what I'm getting here. It's kind of smoky. And that dankness is really forward. Heard weed from the other room. Yes, people watch me filming these sometimes. And honestly, that's kind of where this is. It's got like a resiny dankness to it. I know I said skunky, and when we talk about beers, we don't want to use the word skunky or skunked or skunk, because it tends to talk about it tends to evoke the mental flavor, all right, whatever you might know what I'm talking about, of a beer that's past its prime. But what I'm getting is seriously a weed-like dankness from this. It's weird. It starts out almost like a brewed tea character, and then it goes into this earthy, dank, skunky weed character. And I don't smoke a lot of weed. I actually haven't touched it in a long fucking time. But I smell it all the time. There's tons of dispensaries open up here in Maine. But the smell of weed, sometimes when you smell it on somebody or in a place, it hits the back of your palate in the same way that this beer is, and it kind of lingers there. So it's different. And then it's got that. And then it kind of resolves to just an overall earthiness, a slight metallic tinge to it. But that dankness stays there the whole time. And then it comes full circle to like a tea flavor. So this one's interesting. It's different. It's got my attention. Another sip here. And there's this weird smoky character underlying all of it. So I'm a little confused by this beer, but I know I like it. I think I'm going to hit the Coast Rider with a 4.5 out of 5. I'm not quite getting that wow or blown away reaction or that completely unique beer, because I've had a similar beer at least once before. Again, one of those problems I wouldn't have had 10 years ago. So it's not quite getting up into that full-on 5 out of 5, but it's as close as it can get, because it's got my attention. It's different. It stands out. And the fact that it stands out in a weirdly pleasant way for me is just fucking working. So, one of the reasons I don't, one of many reasons I don't really touch weed these days. It royally fucks with me. So, yeah. It's not a good choice. Not that beer is a great choice either. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But, so, this is where we're at. 4.5 out of 5 on Coast Rider. Ooh, pardon. We'll finish this up. We're going to move on to Honeyspot Road. Just for the record, I know that the whole Coast Rider, Ghost Rider thing wasn't necessarily a reference to the Marvel character, because Ghost Rider has got all kinds of other inferences, but it just jumped to the top of my mind. So, anyway, just wanted to clear that up. I'm not that much of a geek. Yes, I am. We're up to Honeyspot Road India Pale Ale. I don't know if Exit 31 Honeyspot Road is like a a significant reference on the can, but 6% ABV, even though it says India Pale Ale. If you look on the bottom of the box for the 12 pack, it does say it's a hazy IPA, or unfiltered, not hazy, unfiltered. Hazy and unfiltered aren't necessarily the same thing. Although unfiltereds do tend to be more hazy because there are more particulates. I don't know. This actually might be... Let's get the light on that. Ah! Interesting. It's possibly less hazy than Coast Rider. The haziness is definitely due to very fine particulates or an oiliness. You can see actually it's settling. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but I'm actually seeing the haze settle into the bottom part of the glass as I'm looking at it. Slightly effervescent, but again, either very oily or very fine particulates. Yeah, I'm seeing particulates floating around in there. So that's the unfiltered part. Some breweries go exclusively unfiltered. A lot of people like the unfiltered thing. But here's the thing. I'm not seeing large flecks and flocks in this, so it's not putting me off like a lot of unfiltered or particulate heavy beers do. I promised not to repeat myself or harp on that, so we're moving on. Something interesting in the aroma on this one. I don't know what I can compare it to. What the hell is that? It's weird. It's almost like a just a general vegetative aroma, almost like a soup. Like a soup. So it's got an odd aroma that I can't quite place, but it's soup adjacent. Medium mouthfeel. Tart finish. It's got that medium mouthfeel. It's got an almost oily character to it. Tart finish with like a big hoppy burst in the aftertaste. It's like it rolls off the tongue. It's got a tart finish, but as you exhale, or as I'm talking after that, there's a big, just general hoppy bitterness that continues to come forward as air moves over the palate. All right, let's try and figure out what it tastes like before that happens. Earthy and pine notes. The dank undertone. So as it rolls over the tongue, and as you swallow, you're getting those earthy and pine notes with a dank undertone. And then afterwards, you get a tart finish. And as you're sitting there with air moving over the palate afterwards, it's just a general hoppy bitterness that lingers. This beer lingers. If you give it enough time, it comes back to an earthy dankness. So, it's another one that's interesting. It's got a nice complex hop profile, and it's giving me some pretty forward, pretty distinct character that I don't normally get. As I mentioned, the citrus and pine are mostly what I'm keyed towards. So when I get those other characters, it's got my attention. That earthy dankness is kind of neat. And this one with a 4 out of 5. That's pretty damn good. I'm liking it. I'm going to finish it up, and then I'm going to kick my liver's ass with a 8% double IPA to finish off this whole fucking round. Normally a big mistake, but, you know, we'll see how it pans out. All right, we're going to finish up this whole deal with Road to Ruin. Double IPA. Oh, we had a snake on the fucking label, which is appropriate because finishing up the night with an 8% ABV double IPA. Just for the record, folks, anybody who's been watching the channel, if you haven't noticed, I usually wear the same shirt on the same night that I do different beers. And it did 4-5% ABV teas, hard teas before this. Look, 8 beverages in a night isn't that bad considering I've done 12 before with the 12 beers of Christmas from Clown Shoes and the 12 days of IPAs from Stone. Unfortunately, neither one of those two was spotted in my local beer stores this year, but still, 8 isn't a good fucking plan. But hey, I got nothing to do tomorrow, do you? Sucks to be you if you do. All right. Road to Ruin double IPA. Almost overtopped that one. My attempt to act. See, this is what happens. I'm either too hesitant and I don't get a good head on the beer, or I get overly aggressive and I get too much of a head on the beer. I almost overtopped the glass with that one. It's interesting. Getting ahead of myself, I usually do the appearance before I do the aroma, but there's an odd aroma coming off of that. Slightly hazy. It's weird. It's almost got a columnar effect where I can see, like, where I would normally see a column of bubbles coming out from that nucleation point. It's probably just the way the light's hitting it. And we'll see like a separate column of light in the center of the glass. I don't know if that's coming through on the camera or not. But it's got a honey color up here, and then it fades to a nice golden yellow down here. Again, slightly hazy, very, very small particulates or an oiliness causing that haziness, because I'm not seeing any flecks and flocks floating around in there. I don't know what that aroma is. That's distinctly something there, but is it like a perfect combination of pine and citrus? Maybe. I can't quite place it, but it's got a weird tart yet piney character. But it's also very, very faint. Weird. Again, nice medium mouthfeel. These have all been, I think that's been consistent throughout all 4 of these. A nice medium mouthfeel. What the hell am I getting there? There is a mild hint of booziness. I mean, it's an 8% ABV beer. So that is coming through. That sticks with me the whole time. Like it stings as it hits the tip of the tongue. And when it rolls off the back of the tongue, it's got it sparkles, for lack of a better way of putting it. Like it's got not necessarily a coolness, but that when you get that minty character, not effervescence, fuck. The word escapes me, but it seriously like has this tingly sensation all the way down. It's weird. Like hoppy root beer? Does that make sense? It's like this overall hoppy bitterness that just kind of stays with you the whole time. There's that weird tingly, not minty, but cool minty type, not effervescence. It just kind of tingles the whole way through. Burp. Whew, excuse me. And this general hoppy bitterness. Like if I concentrate enough, I'm getting grassy notes, earthy notes, pine. Even the burps are bringing stuff up. Dankness. And maybe a hint of citrus, but I'm mostly getting the other hop esters other than citrus, but it's there. But there is that weird tingly character. It's something I can't quite put my finger on. I'm going back to like a root beer, a hoppy root beer. It's weird. It's weird. Different. Interesting. And the fact that I'm comparing it to hoppy root beer means I don't think I've ever had anything like it before. So, at least not that I can remember. But at 8% ABV, if I did have something similar, I wouldn't remember it anyway, maybe. Yeah, it's different and it's interesting, and I gotta hit Road to Ruin with a 5 out of 5 tonight. Maybe I've had it before, maybe I haven't. I'd have to look it up to find out. But right now, that's where I'm at with it. Just for the record, all of these beers and any beer that you ever see reviewed on this channel, I'm going to say it right now. Beer taste is subjective, folks. You know this. No two people are going to have the same exact opinion on any particular beer, and you might change your mind having the same beer 2 days in a row. But tonight, Road to Ruin's a 5 out of 5. So that's where we're at. Overall, I mean, the pack's a fucking winner. They're all above average beers. Interesting experiences. If you like IPAs, hit them up, definitely. If you don't, maybe give them a shot. It's a chance to explore all the different types of IPAs that are out there. Damn good pack. Sorry, I'm still just trying to figure out what the I'm tasting here because hoppy root beer doesn't seem to be adequate, but it's what I keep coming back to. Fucking tingly hoppy root beer. Anyway. Let me know in the comments or the email link what you think about any of these 4 beers. Let me know if I'm making any sense or if I sound like a complete fucking wacko. While you're down there, don't forget to like and share the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Till next time, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me ramble a little bit. Cheers.